New Texans offensive coordinator Nick Caley speaks. I was on the scene. There's a lot to react to. Let's get it.
What it is, let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every
The
time.
locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. I'm very excited about this. We've been kind of waiting for this. We kind of actually wondered if this was actually going to happen. But I'll be damned, we got a press conference. The Texans had a press conference to introduce new offensive coordinator Nick Caley. I was on the scene. I enjoyed what I heard. Some questions answered, some questions remain, but a hell of a lot to get into as we break all this down. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to ride along, be sure to subscribe to SNL as well. And we'll hear from you as well. I think it's been a big day for the fan, because I think DeMeco Ryans right off the top kind of confirmed what we were saying last year. Kind of felt like it was a broken record, but I think DeMeco saw the light, and what people were saying about Bobby Slowik, I think it was confirmed. I think DeMeco Ryans,
Damn it, Bobby,
in his own kind of way, kind of confirmed what we were talking about. Let's go to the press conference now. First voice we're gonna hear DeMeco Ryans talking about what brought him to this decision, why we're here, etc. Take it away, DeMeco.
I went through a long process, thorough process of interviewing a lot of great candidates, college and pro candidates, and I'm thankful for the McNairs, thankful for Nick Caserio and his help, their involvement in supporting me through this process. And man, I couldn't be more excited to welcome Nick Caley as our new offensive coordinator. Right, he brings a wealth of knowledge, smart coach. He's coached on the defensive side, offense, coached multiple positions, worked with a lot of different people, various schemes, not just beholden to one scheme. He's very well versed.
Various schemes, not just beholden to one scheme. Who's someone who's been beholden to one scheme and only coached in one scheme in his entire coaching career?
damn it, Bobby.
Yeah, I thought so.
And off run game, pass game, protection, like he's well versed in it all. So very smart coach, very energetic guy, great leader. Everybody I talked to about throughout this process had nothing but awesome things to say about Nick and his approach, the players that he's coached. Like there's nothing but rave reviews about Nick and how he's helped guys in their careers. So I'm excited to work with him. I can't wait for our players to get here and work with him. I know they'll feel his energy, feel his excitement, and what he's able to bring to our team. So with that, I just want to welcome.
All right, there you go. And I think the interesting thing, we'll get back to it in a sec. I think DeMeco could confirm what we've been talking about. It looked like Bobby Slowik was just committed to the scheme, wasn't really player driven, was going to try to do the same thing no matter what, who the player was. And we started talking, or at least I started talking on the back end. Bobby just didn't seem to be a leader. He never really led a position group, but you heard DeMeco say multi-scheme, not married to just one scheme, and leader, which I don't think Bobby Slowik was. And it's not a knock on Bobby. It's the only scheme he knows. So why would he not be married to that one scheme? It's all he knows. But I think DeMeco kind of confirmed what your eyes told you, what we were talking about. Sometimes, there's going to be the coaches and the players. They're going to say what they say. Fans are going to say what they say. I think the fan base has a decent grasp of things. I think the fan base is smart. I think the fan base, a lot of times they know what they're watching. And I think DeMeco Ryans just kind of confirmed that. Might have taken some time, a little bit different in season, but I think that was a good thing to hear. So pat yourselves on the back. Let's hear the first words from Nick Caley, what he had to say at his introductory press conference as we react to it live here in the locker room.
Caley is our new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I appreciate it. DeMeco, I just want to, it's great to meet everybody. I'm extremely thankful for the McNair family, for Coach Ryans, for Nick Caserio, for the opportunity to be here in Houston. Really looking forward to getting going and excited to visit with you guys today.
If you can introduce yourself when you're going to ask a question. Go ahead, Christy.
Hi, Christy Reekin from the Associated Press. I guess a two-part question. First, how eager are you to work with CJ Stroud? And as a first-time offensive coordinator, how do you hope to put your personal stamp on this offense?
Yeah. Well, to answer nice to meet you. To answer your first question, I'm very eager. Excited for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity, great people in this organization, and really looking forward to working obviously with CJ. Tremendous talent, competitor. You talk about an ultimate competitor, tough, instinctive, can make plays. So I'm very excited. And as a first-time coordinator, to answer your second part of the question, really excited to get an opportunity to evolve this scheme and put, it's not going to be my spin, it's going to be what's best for our players. And it's always going to be what's best for our players. No, we're not pounding a square peg into a round hole. It's going to be based on the strengths of our quarterback, the players, and the guys on this team. So that's what it'll always be, designed around.
And I think the square peg round hole thing, it was a thing with O'Brien. I think it was a thing with Bobby Slowik, and it was probably an emphasis in the process. You've heard DeMeco talk about not being married to a scheme, and you hear him kind of saying that. So I think that if we're reading between the lines, reading between the words, overanalyzing, some may say, guilty as charged. I think that was probably an emphasis. This is you're going to have to know how to adjust and figure some things out based on the players that you have. And that seems to be one of the emphasis that DeMeco and Caley have.
Nick, last year the Texans had a lot of protection issues, and you guys have elevated Cole. What can you do to protect Stroud and give him the kind of time that he...
Boy, George Strait has nothing on John McClain retirement, man. I saw he's going back on tour for the 14th time since he retired. It was good to see McClain, though. He was doing his thing.
Yeah, I think it all starts up front, obviously, and it's really all 11. I mean, we all got to be in sync, and I think protection starts, obviously, with communication, with trust and communication, cohesiveness up front, and really having clear, rules in the protection system. So we're gonna, we'll be going through that process. Obviously, I got a, history with Cole, dating back to my time in New England when he was our offensive line coach and I coached the tight end. So I have a really good working relationship and a level of trust with Cole. He's a very good football coach, and I'm excited to go through this process with him.
Baker Wilson from KPRC TV. Your coaching philosophy, how would you describe it? And
I want to ask, what was his body language like in person? I don't know what that means, my friend. I have no idea what that means. Take it away, A-Dub.
to follow up, just kind of some of the influences of the Bill Belichick's and Sean McVay's, maybe going back to JCU with Regis Gate.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Starting off, I mean, everything I'm going to, preach and we're going to preach here is going to be rooted in fundamentals. I think you look at every good play, it has good fundamentals. So we're going to start from the ground up, building fundamentals and getting repetitions and time on task with that. The things that I can take, had the opportunity to obviously come most recently with Sean in LA, have a tremendous amount of respect for him, learned a ton of football, from him, as well as obviously Coach Belichick with my time in New England. Invaluable experiences for me, and they're both rooted very similarly. Maybe different personalities and different ways of doing things at times, but it's fundamentals. It's not beating yourself. It's playing clean. It's controlling the line of scrimmage. That's the run game. That's pass protections, etc. And it's being a cohesive unit that takes care of the football. So, those are going to be the things that transcend any kind of scheme, any specific play. We're going to be fundamentally based and rooted in that.
Yeah, and I think that he definitely does sound like McVay. I'm seeing a lot of that. I kind of gave Stoots a little bit of a hard time about that. But yeah, he does sound a little bit like McVay. I will say the way that they speak and stuff, but philosophically, we don't have much of an idea what he's going to be about, what he's going to do. I do think that keep an ear on and eye on what he says about the offensive line, because I think it's becoming more apparent. And I think it's not just based on what they're saying. I think it's just based on common sense and reality that the offensive line, well, I'll let him say it, and then I think that there's an eye-opening experience and an eye-opening reality pertaining to the offensive line that we'll hear from in a sec. Let's go back to Nick Caley here live in the locker room.
Nick, Jonathan Alexander, Eastern Chronicle. Nice to meet you again. A lot of people who work with you talked about how you waited for the right opportunity. Why, in particular, was this the right opportunity for you? Why did you feel like it was the right fit at this time?
Because of the people. Starting from ownership, to Coach Ryan's, to Nick, to the people, to the players, to the staff that we have here, I feel really convicted in that. And I think, you got to get the right people on the bus, and we have the right people on the bus, and I'm really excited about that.
DeMeco, two-part question. What kind of led you to land on Nick, and why did you feel like you guys had to make a switch and relieve Bobby of his previous duties?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of great people throughout this process, and it was clear as I kept going through it, talking to people and going through my process, it was very clear that Nick was the right guy for our team. Just with his energy, right, his leadership ability. I think with him being able to understand the run game, pass game, with him being in multiple schemes that were successful, understanding how to tailor the offense to the players that we have, that led me to Nick. And I feel really strong in my conviction that he can lead us and get us over the hump. Right? We've had a lot of good success these first 2 years, and the reason for doing it is I think there's another level that we can go to. And so I said earlier, it's my job to take this organization to new heights, and I think hiring Nick will help us to get there.
DeMeco,
Okay. I mean, and DeMeco seems very comfortable. And I asked him about the process this time versus last. I think you'll like what he had to say there. Here's DeMeco. He's kind of already told us like what he liked about Caley and what he wants in a play caller. But this is just kind of a talk about what he was looking for when he looked for an OC.
welcome to town, Coach. I'm Kim Davis with Chalk Talk.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Two-part question. DeMeco, can you talk about what were you looking for? I know you talked to a lot of people, but when you started, what did you say, like, this is what this person needs to be able to do?
I went in with an open mindset, Kim, and I learned a lot from a lot of sharp coaches. I learned a lot just seeing how guys put things together, how guys adjusted and adapted to what they were from their schemes, what they were able to do. So I went in with an open mind, but also went in with the idea of the right person who can lead us, right, in the right direction, get everybody going in the same direction, can help our quarterback the most, help us with where we had our issues, of course, with our protection. We know we can clean that up. Just all a well-rounded football coach, right? And that's Nick. Nick has coached multiple positions. He's coaching on the defensive side.
Well-rounded football coach, man. I don't think Bobby was a well-rounded football coach. I think Bobby's a good resource for a coaching staff, but I don't think Bobby, and we've talked about this, this isn't based on just what he's saying. This is based on what we've said. And a lot of times whenever you say something and then a player or coach goes up there and confirms what you say, hey, told you so. Now, when they contradict it, say, I'm still going to stand by it. But I think this just kind of confirms what we saw. Like, Bobby Slowik was not a well-rounded football coach. He was not a leader, and he was married to one scheme. And we don't know what kind of head football coach Nick Caley is. We know what kind of football coach DeMeco Ryans is looking for. Take it away. I did him wrong there by pressing pause. Look at him. DeMeco, he's never, I bet he's never even smoked. But in that situation, he looks like he's on that
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
He understands how to attack schemes. He understands how to put guys in the right position. I understand how to adjust it to make sure it's favored to our players and making sure they are able to accentuate their strengths. And that's what it was about for me.
Nick, if you could just describe yourself and your coaching style. I know you talked about fundamentals, but how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, passionate, high energy, relationship driven, getting to know the players beyond just the actual, performance on the field, getting to know what makes them tick and really investing in them as people to understand, how they operate and how you can help them and help them, reach and realize their potential. And I'm going to invest. And I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to bring a great energy and a great vibe every day. And I run where I'm going on the field. I move fast, and I have fun. I love this.
I run where I'm going on the field. Okay.
How are you doing today, Nick?
Great. Yourself?
You got your Brian Bearford from Big Sarge Media. I have a two-part question, one for Coach, and one for you, Nick. Coach, how apprehensive were you to hire another first-year offensive coordinator, first-time play calling offense coordinator?
Well, to me, there's always, everybody has their first time. I was a first-time play caller. Right? There are a lot of guys who have their first time, so I wasn't beholden to or nervous about hiring someone who was their first time, because it's about the person. And I think you get the right person to do the job, and I truly believe that Nick can do that. And it's play calling is also about who you surround yourself with. And I think, we have a really strong staff offensively and defensively. Surround ourselves with the right people who can help when it comes to calling it for the first time.
And Nick, you're coming from a situation with the Rams where you had 2 wide receivers in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, 2 players who nobody really, was on anybody's radar coming out of college like that. You have that type of situation here with this wide receiver room.
I don't know about that. I don't know about the Puka and the Cooper. I know that we didn't know who they were. We immediately knew who they were when they stepped on the field. I don't think we got that here.
How do you get the best out of players like Xavier Hutchinson and John Mitchell?
Yeah, I think you put them in positions to have success, to surround, be in position to do what they do best. And I think the spring is also an opportunity for us to, you experiment with routes and you see what guys do and you refine certain skills. And I think everybody's got a little bit different skill set, and you try to maximize those guys and put them in the best positions to have success to help the team. And that's what I'll try to do here with this staff. We got a great staff. We got great players that are, going to work hard, and we'll go attack it here once we get the guys back.
Okay.
Nick, Adam Wexler, Sports Talk 790. You spent 8 years with Coach Belichick, the last 2 with Coach McVay.
Yeah.
Could you pinpoint something you take from Coach Belichick and then take from Coach McVay? They're obviously very different.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that I could point to in both of those situations. But yeah, I think just going back in my time in New England, embracing your role, keeping your head down, working hard, and really the more you can do, the more value you have, and just there's no detail that's I would say too small. You turn over every rock. You try to find a way to give yourself an edge as a team through your players, through coaching, etc. And I would say thoroughness, attention to detail, accountability. That's what really stands to mind with Coach Belichick. Sean, same thing. Just the energy, the passion, the leadership. Obviously, both men are incredible football coaches. But you talk about the way he goes about the day in LA, the way he moves, the way he communicates, the way he invests, the way he pours into players. Those are just a few things about both those coaches that I've obviously taken along the way.
Okay.
Nick, welcome. Greg Bailey from ABC here in Houston. Understanding it takes all 11 with protection.
Yep. Specifically
with the offensive line, what are the foundations in your coaching history that you'll lean?
This is a good breakdown on protection. I know McClain asked about it, but this is an incredibly good breakdown on protection from Nick Caley.
On to get that group, to use DeMeco's term, to the next level.
Yeah. Well, with the offensive line, the quarterback, obviously the halfback, you got to be able to see the game through the same set of eyes, and you got to be going in the same direction, and you got to be tied together. And it starts with communication, and it starts with protecting inside out and establishing a pocket, the depth of the pocket, the width of the pocket. And that extends obviously into the tight ends, receivers when you're chipping and stuff like that. But it does. It really starts inside out, and it starts seeing it through the same lens. And we all got to be coordinated in that.
If I could follow just real quick, is there any coach who's influenced your views of the offensive line?
Sure.
The experience that.
This is a good one. This is the one you want to hear. And I heard him actually break this down on the Texans radio interview. This is, you can't do much better. Like, this is like the Michael Jordan of offensive line coaches, and he's going to go in depth on it.
Yeah, Dante Scarnecchia. I was with Dave DeGuglielmo in 2015. Very good coach. Dante Scarnecchia, longtime New England coach, influenced a lot of what I've obviously learned up front in the protection systems, and then been a part of other ways of doing it too. But yeah, in terms of my the formative stages, it would be my early years in New England, obviously, with those two.
Hey Nick, Sam Warren with the Houston Chronicle here.
Hi, Sam.
DeMeco has spoken about your ability to coach in different schemes, pulling from different areas. Just kind of in your first time calling plays, do you have an idea of where scheme-wise you're really going to be drawing on for building this offense and kind of where you're pulling from?
Sure, I think you have things, you have foundations and pieces that you want to hang your hat on. Obviously, I think again it's all about the players. There's different years, every year is different, so we're going to do it around the strengths of our players. But I want to obviously first start off establishing the run game. What is that going to look like? Well, it's going to be based on again what we do best, and we'll pave the way with that moving forward. Yeah.
See, I like that because that's, it's one thing to say we're going to establish a run and not to have a creative run scheme. But he's saying it's going to be based on what we do best, as in how we run the rock. So in other words, if we're good on the outside, we're going to run on the outside. If we're good on the inside, we're going to run on the inside. If we're good with this guy pulling, we're going to do that. So I think that's some good stuff where it's not the square peg round hole that has been mentioned a couple of times. It's, we're going to try to run the rock, but we're going to try to run the rock and we're going to try to figure out how we're good at running the rock. And that's the attention to detail that you want from a good offensive coordinator.
One more for DeMeco. How's it going, DeMeco? Just with the decision to retain Cole and promote him to offensive line coach, just kind of what went into that decision and what's your confidence level on him, being a part of last year's staff, kind of fixing some of those issues that were going on?
Getting Cole as our offensive line coach.
See, my thing here is I kind of feel like that would have been Caley's decision as much as DeMeco's. And maybe I'm naive, maybe I don't know. I just, if Nick Caley didn't like Popovich, would he have been back? The answer may be yes. And I'm going to tell you why after DeMeco says this, because I think there's a reality with this offensive line that I think we might need to accept. I'll let DeMeco talk first, and then I'll tell you what that is here live in the locker room. Shout out to everyone in the chat.
Lead that room, just having one voice to lead it. Feel really strong about that. Cole helped a lot of our young players when it came to developing. He had a really great relationship with a lot of guys, and I think very highly of Cole and what he's able to do. And I think him having a prior relationship with Nick as well, and them being able to work together and them to hit the ground running instantly, I think that also led to my decision, and I know we'll be better for it.
Now, here was my thing on this, and I think between what Caserio said and what DeMeco has said, and the reality, as much as anything, I think part of the reason why you want to bring in a guy who's not only worked with Caley, but also has some familiarity with this offensive line is the same reason that when you're a GM or something like that, you keep some coaches around, or maybe you keep some front office guys around just to kind of figure out what the issues were. And this offensive line, if a general manager comes to a bad squad and the salary cap situation's bad to where there's not much you can do about it, and the draft equity's bad to where there's not much you can do about it, a lot of times you just got to try to get through that mud, and you got to try to do so as effectively as possible. You still got to coach them up. You still got to take advantage of opportunity. But the Texans' offensive line situation is so shitty, and it is such a bad situation that while we would love for them to just be able to blow it up, you heard Nick Caserio talk about guys being under contract. I think that's an important thing to take into account. And DeMeco says that Popovich is familiar with the guys. If they had a clean situation and a 100% realistic opportunity to completely blow up the offensive line, I don't know that Popovich would have been brought back. Maybe he would. Maybe Caley likes him, but I think it's kind of important to look at the reality of the offensive line situation and all the bad contracts you have, and maybe you're going to have to make do. Now, does that mean Shaq Mason's back? I wouldn't think so. But I think all these other guys, you're going to have to figure something out. And if the opportunity presents itself, then you do. But you're kind of handcuffed right now, much like a GM that walks into a bad situation. Here's more from DeMeco. Not ideal, I know, but here's more from DeMeco.
Landry Locker, Houston football, and the locker room. I got one for DeMeco and one for Nick. DeMeco, what was it like? This is the second time you've looked for someone to kind of oversee the offensive side of the ball. What was it like this time as compared to the first time when you hadn't been a head coach yet?
This process, it was it's a little easier. I think knowing what I was looking for, and knowing what to look for after being a head coach for 2 years now, and seeing how we operate here, and it was an easier, process for me. The first time around, becoming a head coach, it was very hectic. Trying to get a new staff, trying to put everything together, a lot more hectic this time. Just being able to take my time, not rush anything, but to think through it, get the right guy, talk to a lot of different people, right, to get a lot of input in what we were doing. So felt much more comfortable this time around.
And Dick, you said the scheme's going to be player-driven. A lot of talking points when you hire an offensive coordinator.
I need this for my own thing. Like, give me a description on what the what the offense is like. We'll hear that in a sec. But I think DeMeco seems a lot more comfortable. I think that was pretty transparent, and I think that's about as much as you're going to get from DeMeco, like as far as specifics. But he definitely looks the part, and he said he was more comfortable this time. And then there's a lot of moving parts when you're a first-time head coach. But here's Caley. How the hell do I describe the scheme?
Run the McVay scheme? Are they going to go back to the Patriots? How would someone like me describe the scheme if we were talking about it?
Yeah, it's going to be Houston's. It's going to be our scheme based on what we do, and I don't say that to throw any curveballs. It really is. I mean, my history dating back to when I first got into the National Football League under Coach Belichick is we were going to be a game plan team. If that meant we were going to run duo and gap schemes and run the ball 45 times to win the game, then that's what we were going to do. If we had to run more perimeter plays, wide zone, and we felt that was going to give us the edge, we were going to do that. It was all going to be based. We were going to ask our guys to do what they do well, but it was going to be based on what we do to help us win. And at the end of the day, we want to win, and that's priority for us.
And follow up and
So this one's just about players last year, this year. This is our first Hardo coaching moment, which is good, from Nick Caley.
watching last year and taking in all that information and approaching the offseason, is there anything that you think or any area of improvement that you think this offense needs to make to achieve those goals?
Yeah, I would say this. I'm really only focused on moving forward, and each year is different. We're going to hit the time we're going to get into free agency, draft, et cetera. We'll see how our team shapes up here in the next couple months, but we'll put our focus in that one day at a time as we put together our roster.
Nick, having a weapon like Joe Mixon in the backfield, you talked about running the football, but specific to Joe, what are some of the skill sets you see from Joe?
We know what he's going to say about Joe, right?
And kind of the mentality he has as you plan things out.
Yeah, I love his mentality. I love the way he runs. I love the way he finishes. He's a violent runner on contact. He's competitive. I've admired him for a long, long time. So I'm really excited. He's a really good player, and I'm really excited to work with him.
On the tight end position, it was a spot that they made an investment in. Didn't really use the tight ends as much this past year. You have a long background with Rob Gronkowski and guys like that. What do you hope to do to get the most out of the tight end position, blocking and catching passes? Thank you.
Yeah, I love tight ends. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased there, but I think we got a great group of guys, smart, tough, competitive, and in my history, we've used a bunch of different guys in different roles, and I like tight ends.
Hi, Nick. Welcome.
What does that mean? Does that mean draft? Does that mean he maximizes the guys that they already have? Does that mean maybe the guys that they already have might be in a little bit of trouble because that's his level of play? There's a lot of possibilities with that.
Houston, Chancellor Johnson, question for both of you guys. DeMeco, I'll start with you. If there was one thing that you specifically point to from the interview process that you walked away really impressed with Nick, what would that be?
One thing that stood out to me was just his passion for the game of football. I want players, when I'm looking at players, evaluating players, I want players who love the game of football. Instantly, when you talk to Nick and you guys see it right here, he's passionate about football, and that's what's the one thing that stood out to me.
Thank you. And Nick, for you, coming into the situation and having CJ as your quarterback, what is it about him and his talent that might allow you to do some different things and be creative in that aspect?
This is the same. This is what Christy asked about, CJ working with CJ.
Yeah, I mean he can spin it. He throws the ball. He's an accurate thrower of the football. He's a natural thrower of the football. He's instinctive. He's got the it factor, and he's a warrior in terms of his competitiveness. And I've admired him dating back to his college days. So I'm really excited to have an opportunity to work with him.
Nick, Cole Thompson, Texans Wire.
Hi.
Houston, good to meet you.
This is literally the exact same question that was asked by Alexander earlier. Like literally the exact same one. And you will hear Nick politely say again, because he realizes I've answered this exact same question in this setting.
Out in the past, waiting for the right opportunity to come to Houston. Or come become a play caller. But what sold you on Houston being the right fit for you specifically?
Yeah, again, the people, starting with Coach, ownership, Coach Ryans, to the people in this building, the coaching staff, Nick Caserio. There's a lot of really, really good people, and they're aligned. And that's what is really intriguing to me, was really intriguing, and I'm excited to get to work with everybody here.
Question for DeMeco and Nick.
DeMeco ain't about this.
You know, obviously, free agency is coming up, and you have some pending free agents. Wondering about the potential of bringing a guy back like Stefon Diggs, and then for Nick, what type of players do you look for to build your offense around? What type of traits do they have? So if I can start with DeMeco.
He's looking at me. He's like,
we won't get into specifics on free agents. Like, that's a process that'll take its time, so I won't get into specifics on different guys.
There you go. Ain't into that. Look at that. He's like, man, what the hell's that got to do with anything?
Tough.
Look at DeMeco. He's like, man, what does that got to do with why I'm here? I'm here to talk about Nick Caley. Why are you asking me about Diggs?
Unselfish, dependable guys that love to compete and love.
I was glad he didn't say tough, smart, dependable. Tough, unselfish, dependable.
Football. That will start there, and obviously extend to the specific skill sets at different positions. But want guys that love the game, that love to compete. You know, and you know, are good teammates.
We all know that CJ has a tremendous amount of time. This question for DeMeco has a tremendous amount of time. What specifically about Nick and his ability to design plays and call plays do you feel like we'll be able to get the best out of CJ? Because we all know what type of talent and what type of player CJ can be. What specifically about his play calling and his design and his scheme can help elevate CJ to that next tier of quarterback play?
You know, we all know CJ is a really great quarterback, right? So it's just about developing that relationship with CJ and also just putting CJ and everyone else around CJ in the best position possible for us to move the football down the field and score points. I think Nick is going to do a great job of that, building that rapport relationship with CJ. And yeah, I think CJ is already, you know, a great player. It's just getting everybody on the same page. As we talked about that communication, all 11 guys being on the same page. We do that, and instantly CJ will be better.
DeMeco, considering your relationship with Bobby, how hard was it for you?
McLean loved Bobby Slowik so much. He would just show up and just talk to Bobby all the time. I don't know how McLean took this, the Bobby Slowik thing. Knew this was coming now.
Yeah, it was very hard to let Bobby go. Bobby's a really close friend, as you all know. Bobby's a great friend of mine. We, you know, when I got into coaching, Bobby was the guy who helped me figure it all out. And we were QCs together there in San Fran, so really long relationship there with him. Nothing but love and admiration for Bobby and what he's done. I know he'll be a really good coach in this league as he continues to press forward in his career, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Nick, I wondered about your path into coaching. Did you always want to be a coach when you're growing up, and was there a certain coach or person in your life that kind of veered you towards this profession?
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I grew up in Canton, Ohio, 3 miles from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. High school football was big, 15,000, 12,000, 15,000. So about the age of 9, I knew I wanted to be a coach. And my dream early on was to be a high school football coach in Stark County, Ohio. Similar to Tom McDaniel's, you know, Ben and Josh's father. I watched him at Canton McKinley as a kid growing up. So I've always wanted to coach. It's a part of my, you know, fabric of my life. And my dad took me to a lot of games as a kid. So, yeah.
That's cool.
I've got 2 questions for DeMeco.
Okay. 2 questions for DeMeco. Take it.
Nick's talked a little bit about the excitement about working with CJ. Was he involved at all in kind of the consultation of potential OCs and kind of involved in that decision on making the decision to bring Nick here?
I had to hire the OC.
And then secondly, we've seen Tank Dell make some recent public appearances. He seems like he's in good spirits. Do you have any updates on how he's doing in his recovery?
OC press conference, man. Like this is the OC, man. What?
Tank is definitely in much better spirits, encouraged with this process and where he is. So I'm excited for Tank. It's great to see him just with that smile back on his face. We know he went through a devastating injury there. Hated to lose him, but he's on the right track. Right? We'll see where he ends up as he continues to progress through his rehab, but it's great to see that smile back on Tank's face.
Nick, you talked about, DeMeco, you've talked about the players, but can you talk about your relationship with Nick Caserio?
Yeah, I got a lot.
Watch after this. DeMeco's got a little shots fired at your boy if they got it in the FTP. He's got little shots fired. Look at him. He's ready to go. Shout out to DeMeco.
Respect. I mean, I came into the league in 15. I was hired by New England, and he was there in New England, and he's always been just a positive, sharp, organized mentor to me. Always did a great job leading and, have a high level of respect, very thorough, and, he's just a good sounding board as a young coach coming up too. And, I have a lot of respect for Nick.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
How Landry get 3 questions in a row?
I know.
What's going on?
3 good ass answers, man. 3 good ass answers, man.
I got more questions.
Look at DeMeco's getting the jokes, man.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
How Landry get 3 questions in a row? What's going on, man?
He's still not happy.
I got more questions.
Yeah. Nah, it's good answers though, DeMeco. Good answers though, DeMeco. But hey, if we're gonna have people ask the exact same question that was asked earlier on, and we're gonna ask questions about free agency, come on. I'm just trying to ask for the people. I want to know about this OC, and I'm paying attention to every word you say live here in the locker room. I thought DeMeco was the star of the show with this whole thing. I thought he was the star of the show. I think he's comfortable. I think he showed us that he had the coconuts to make the decision. I think he's happy with the decision. I think he hired a guy who had a lot of options. And look, the reality of it is we're in this with DeMeco for at least a decade. If Caley doesn't work out, I think DeMeco should get another opportunity. He's the overseer of this football team. He's the overseer of this process. We're growing with DeMeco Ryans. The pressure's obviously intensified. The expectations have jumped up. The bar has been set high to where disappointment is as much of a possibility as reaching the ultimate goal. And that's in a crazy world, that's what happens when you establish a good culture. The possibility for disappointment, it increases. As a matter of fact, there's more of a chance for that than there is reaching the ultimate goal. There was one thing that could happen for the Kansas City Chiefs to have a successful season this year. It was one thing. Didn't happen. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills. Didn't happen. Baltimore Ravens. Didn't happen. So DeMeco Ryans has said it, and Nick Caserio and the players, the young core they have set it up to where they're asking the questions and setting stuff up. Not asking the questions. I'm distracted by the chat. But they're setting things up to where there's a large possibility of disappointment, and there's a large possibility for success because the team is better. So that's the reality of what they've built. But I think DeMeco Ryans is acting like a guy that's not in over his head. And by in over his head, I'm just saying that a lot of times the responsibilities intensify, the pressure intensifies. More money, more problems. More success, more problems. He doesn't seem overwhelmed. Sometimes we see guys that get overwhelmed in clutch situations. Bill O'Brien wet his pants. I think he really peed his pants when they were up 24-0 against the Chiefs. He didn't have a play. He said he didn't have a play on 4th and 1, despite the fact that same stadium he had a play on 4th and 2 to ice the game. Less pressure. He peed his pants. Bill O'Brien urined his pants. That happens. DeMeco Ryans seems to be content. He seems to be confident. I thought he did a good job. I know some people are saying he's on that word salad diet that Nick Caserio's on. I think sometimes, in season, but I think we're also learning that DeMeco is willing to make those decisions. I thought DeMeco gave us some great incredible ass answers there. And I think the DeMeco stock is solid. I never sold. I think there's going to be frustration again, more money, more problems, more criticism, but I'm still happy that I have the DeMeco stock. We'll see what happens with Nick Caley. Another takeaway, I don't know what Nick Caley's offense is going to be. It's obvious that they thought Bobby Slowik was a little bit too married to one scheme. Our eyes kind of told us that. They kind of confirmed that in the press conference. It's also kind of apparent that Bobby Slowik not really that much of a leader. I do wonder how Nick Caley's going to value this tight end position. Could we see a tight end on day 2? Could we see picks stockpiled? I wonder that. And other than that, there's a lot of mysteries. There's a lot of questions that remain when it comes to this. We don't know what this offense is going to look like. And I think it's going to be what's true one week might not be true the next. Now, Bill O'Brien was a game plan offense guy. I don't think he did a good job of game planning a lot of the time. Bobby Slowik was a schemer bust guy. That didn't work out. So we'll see what happens with Nick Caley. He definitely sounds a lot like McVay, just as far as like the cadence. But hey, I enjoyed the press conference. I thought it was good. I thought DeMeco gave a hell of an answer. I know he talked about the 3 answers, the 3 questions. I thought they were relevant questions, and I thought he did a hell of a job giving the answers. And those were 3 of the questions that I definitely wanted to hear. And I thought him and Caley both did a hell of a job. It's for the people. It's what you want to know. I don't want to just ask, hey, is Joe Mixon a good football player? Is the exact same question that's asked earlier. It's not about that. So I thought it was a good press conference. I thought they did a hell of a job. Hopefully get to talk to him a little bit more at the combine. We'll see. But I was impressed by it. Pawn Shop 84 says more money, more honey. That's true. It's and it can also be more honey, more money, more bee stings. It can go a number of ways. There's the honey still has to get produced. The bees are still in there. They can sting your ass a lot easier. You got all that honey, you still got the bees that can sting you, aka like the Monday morning quarterbacks and the jamokes like myself, and like you people, and I do mean you people. Dion swarming the soup. He wants to define Hardo. You ain't never
Swarm.
So Hardo, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing, but it can be anything from your buddy doesn't want to wear a jacket when it's cold outside. He's a Hardo. A coach goes up to the podium and he basically says, it's about the guys on the field. It's, I'm not worried about what happened. I'm moving on. It can be that. It can be a guy who thinks you're a wuss for not taking the 6th shot of the night. That guy can be a hardo. It's not an insult. It's more so like an entertaining type of thing. But that's basically what a hardo is. It can be whatever you want it to make. Chase brings up a good point. If Stoots is not going to ask a question, Landry got to ask 3. I don't know what Cody was doing today. And I told him this on SNL. I don't know what Stoots was doing. He's been the Caley whisperer. That Cody Stoots has been my leader of the Nick Caley movement. Cody Stoots has been the face of the Nick Caley movement. That's my brother. That's my best friend. That's my podcast partner. That's the guy I'm going to Indy with. All that. I've known him forever. 2 decades almost. What the hell was he doing? This guy's done like 45 Nick Caley videos. He didn't even ask a question today. He could have asked about Dalton Schultz. That was what my next question was going to be. My next question was going to be, because you know what he's going to say about Joe Mixon. Because that's why they were giving me a hard time. PR was giving me a hard time. DeMeco was giving me a hard time. Like on the side. It was fun. It's all love. But my next question was going to be, okay, what do you like about Dalton Schultz? What do you think that Dalton Schultz can provide to this football team? And then we would maybe be able to read between the lines and see if Nick Caley, does it seem like he likes Dalton Schultz? Does he say that Dalton Schultz is good at this? That was what I was really, really looking forward to and wanting to hear from Nick Caley. But yeah, there was a time limit, and I completely understand. But I wanted to hear that. But yeah, the Stoots thing, I don't know what was going on there. Corey Barrett says that someone told him that me and Stoots mentioned coaching staff news next week. I think Stoots said they'll probably announce the coaching staff next week. I think they typically do that before the combine, right? I think that's just like a standard procedure. I don't think we have like some scoop. They've obviously hired a couple of guys from outside and they're keeping some guys, but I don't think there's like any scoop. I just think it's usually standard procedure that the full coaching staff typically gets announced at some point before the combine, and the combine is in 11 days. So naturally you would think that they would send out the announcement of the coaching staff. I think that's just kind of more like a annual muscle memory type of thing from Stoots, as opposed to like some sort of scoop. We'll never be the ones that are like, oh, if only we could say this to you. Like, that's never going to happen with us. So if we know, we'll tell you. A lot of times we'll tell you whatever we know, whether it's players, whatever. I mean, but yeah, I don't think it was any. If you're saying it was like some sort of tease type of thing, nah. Stoots was just saying that that's typical procedure. So it's got to be before next Monday. I think that's what he was saying. Mike M says, what was Stoots doing instead of asking questions? McLean's retired and still was there to ask a question. I guess Cody was just taking it all in. And I guess what he wanted to do was there. Cody was doing this. Is that like an in all type of thing? Not sure. James R says, I'm not getting my hopes up until I see some personnel changes among the O-line. It is frustrating that they can't see that ultimately we need good football players. I think they know that they need good football players. I think they might have made some bad decisions on some players and they might be stuck with them for logistical or financial reasons or whatever the hell. But I think they know that they need good football players. Like sometimes you make your bed, and unfortunately in the NFL, sometimes when that happens, you kind of got to lie in it for a little bit. And I think that might be what that is. James says it's not flashy follow up, but they need to spend a first round pick on a guard. Who? Like who would you want to draft? Like a guard? You just want to take the best right guard available? Like I don't get that. Why? They've already done that. I mean, there's other ways to find guards. And when you draft, if you just say a position, there's no guarantee that it's going to be a good one. So they need to draft a guard in the first round. I would disagree. Marcus says, how do you know someone is a coordinator if they haven't coordinated? You don't. How do you know that someone's a good chef if they haven't chefed? How do you know someone is good at construction if they haven't construction? How do you know someone's good at sales if they haven't sold? How do you know if someone's good at accounting if they haven't accounted? How do you know if someone's good at anything if they haven't done it? You take the skills that they've had, you try to get a grasp of if they're capable of it, and then you figure it out. Literally every offensive coordinator in the history of the NFL, this is a crazy stat for you, and this is why I thought it was weird and unnecessary when we started talking about they need someone who's called plays before. I'm going to give you a stat that's going to blow your mind. It shouldn't, because it's kind of common sense. But literally every offensive coordinator and everyone who's ever called plays, at one point, they hadn't called plays before. Isn't that crazy? Like Bill Walsh, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Norv Turner, Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid, John Gruden. All these guys, at one point, they hadn't called plays before. It's crazy, but it's happened. So what does that mean? Like, obviously you don't know, but if you're telling yourself that I want someone who has done this before, That's fine. But you would have eliminated, literally, with that mindset at any specific time, you would have eliminated some of the best play callers in the history of the game. Literally all of them with that mindset. So we've got to think before we speak sometimes when it comes to this type of stuff. Bobby Slowik didn't suck because he hadn't called plays before. Bobby Slowik sucked because he only knew one system. He didn't know how to lead. He didn't know how to adjust. And he was in over his head. It wasn't because he'd never called plays before. Because if that were the case, there would have never been a good offensive coordinator in the history of ever. So I get if that's what your whole mindset is, but if that's your mindset, then you're eliminating literally every single one of the best play callers of all time. Doesn't make sense. That's not why Bobby Slowik sucked. Corey in the chat, and I appreciate you for participating, my friend. Corey says Cole has a lot to prove to get the bad taste out of our mouth. Not saying he can't, but he's got a short leash out the gate. I don't know, man. Like, I want to see what he has to work with, because I think these contracts, like much like when Caserio first got here and he had dead cap and he had limited draft equity, and you kind of had to be careful and take with a grain of salt what you saw on the field. I wonder how much Popovich is going to be handcuffed by the sins of the past. So I would keep an eye on that. I get that. But I think it's going to have as much to do with the plays that are called, scheme, etc. But I get that. Rotten Oxford says, hey, Landry, you had the best questions. I don't care what Miko thinks. Miko likes the questions. Miko's also, this is the other thing. This is kind of a chess move, perhaps, with DeMeco. First of all, he's just kind of joking around. But here's the other thing that he's doing. He's planting it. That whenever like tough questions need to be asked, he's planting that seed. Because he knows I'm going to be the jackass that is going to ask the question and maybe ask the follow-up. DeMeco might be playing chess here, to where if DeMeco makes a bad decision, he tries to avoid it and he gets followed up on, that seed is kind of planted. Don't let DeMeco do that to you. Don't let him do that to you. Don't let DeMeco turn this into softball. We're playing baseball, baby. Ain't no softball around here. Marcus on the chat. That man Caley said, like, dude, don't ask me the same question. Oh, you're talking about how you got to ask the exact same question about choosing Houston. Yeah, that was wild. Should have given me that one. Give me 4. Come on. I wouldn't ask the same question. I want to know about Schultz. McLean gives me bad vibes like all the time. Marcus says, McLean, get on my nerves for real. McLean's a great guy, guys. I don't know if y'all realize this. McLean's one of the best human beings in the world. And there are a lot of media types that have accomplished way less. Like if McLean wanted to be an asshole, he could easily be an asshole. He is the nicest human being on the face of the earth. And I'm not just saying that. Like he is literally like behind the scenes, anything you need, the nicest guy in the world, the least amount of ego. There's not a single person that has accomplished that much. I've met one, Randy Galloway, who is that nice and that awesome. And McLean, like behind the scenes, look, when he needs to, when he needs to drop the hammer, he's going to drop the hammer. A lot of times it always goes back to Love You Blue. And now it's going back to Gary Kubiak. He's the greatest human being on the face of the earth. I promise you. Like that's not me BSing. I wouldn't lie to you. So yeah, he's a great dude. He loves what he does. He's not really, this is what he loves. So this is kind of like a retirement type of thing, but there's a lot of people who kind of just linger around and don't contribute and kind of suck that have been here for a long time. He's not that at all. Wrong John, if you're looking for that. Michael Watson says, got to give Landry props. He called it with the lack of personality, command of the room, skill set for Bobby. Yeah, that was just kind of blatantly obvious. So we'll see. Relevant questions. We're seeing layers of DeMeco. Yeah, DeMeco's doing his thing. Yeah, he's definitely doing his thing. Players didn't respect Bobby. I think the players like Bobby. I don't think it was that bad. Whose decision was it to keep Popovich? I would say it's probably a combination of both. I also think it has to do with your kind of you're kind of stuck in the way of with some of these guys. Q says Caley's press conference was very generic. We'll find out how much power he really has at the draft and at OTAs. I'm hoping we'll be given power of offense side of things. I think it's his offense. I thought DeMeco was the biggest takeaway here. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of coaches speak, a lot of that. What run scheme do I think he'll run? I have no idea at all. No clue. Jacob says, like me, I heard Caley likes a good tight end. Okay. It might be TMI, but hey, good for you, man. I know I've made more sophomoric jokes than that. For sure. Captain Crunch 7-2. All y'all love Bobby after first season. He walked on water, never forget. This is the loser mindset that I don't like. Yeah, what were you not going to like about Bobby after year one? Like, he was getting interviewed for head coach jobs. Like, this is like the beauty of sports and the beauty of football is you get kind of corrected, and what happens like 1 year doesn't really matter, especially in the NFL. You make a case what happens 1 week, but never forget. Are you going to like lock the door and take some lotion in the bathroom with you? Remember that? Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, of course people like Bobby Slowik. Never forget. Okay. Don't forget that there, Captain Crunch. Good for you. Like, yeah, people like Bobby Slowik. Like, that's very correct. It's very, very true. People liked Bobby Slowik. Yes, there you go. Never forget, man. Take that to the bank, not the money bank. You know what kind of bank I'm talking about, my friend. There was a subset of fans hoping Bobby got that HC job last season, to be fair. Yeah, I don't think everybody wanted it, but yeah, I mean, it's like, remember y'all booed JJ Watt. Don't ever forget. Okay. I mean, okay. They didn't want JJ Watt. They wanted Nick Fraley. Like, what do you want them to do? Do you get banned from buying a JJ Watt jersey and supporting JJ Watt? Like, yeah, that's what happened, sir. That's good job. What was it? French fry guy or whatever the hell that was. That happened. But interesting thing with the Nick Caley press conference. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed hearing and seeing DeMeco. It'll be interesting to see what they say at the combine. And we don't know what the scheme is. Like, we don't know what the scheme is. We don't know what the players are going to look like. We'll know soon-ish what they're going to do on free agency. And then we'll figure all that up. So it'll be fun times, good times. Don't threaten me with a good time when it comes to a press conference. I am known as the podium critic for a reason. And I appreciate all y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, whether you liked the press conference, whether you didn't, whether you had 3 questions or you had 0, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for pulling up to the locker room.
Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city.